Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 153. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zeberwolf. We're going to be talking about What If Season 3. We're going to be talking about the new Spider-Man animated series trailer, a little bit of Skeleton Crew, and any other nerdy news in between. This is the last podcast of 2024. We're recording this live on the 29th, and just want to say a massive thank you to anybody who's been here for the year or the years previous. Next year, 2025, you'll be seeing plenty of us again. So without further ado, here we go. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right. Dealing with allergies, apparently, like eyes watering, nose is all stuffy. So
Have that mute button at the ready, sir.
I know, right?
Yeah, massive happy Christmas if to anybody who's listening to us around the world who celebrates it. If you don't, happy Wednesday or whatever day it was. I'm completely all over the place. I finished work on the 20th of December, and
Mhm.
every day's been like Saturday to me since. Like, it's just it's all just merging into one. I was woke up this morning, didn't feel like a Sunday at all. It could have been Thursday. I wouldn't have even known the difference. So it's and I'm off until the 6th of January as well. So I'm kind of in the middle of my holiday break, and yeah, the days are just absolutely all over the place. But yeah, look, if anybody celebrates it, happy Christmas. I hope everyone had a great time with their loved ones, and happy New Year. This is the last podcast of 2024, so yeah, massive thank you to anybody who's been listening to us. I've seen a big increase in our numbers over the last couple of months. We're kind of averaging around 150 views on these live podcasts, and that's great. And there's been plays on Spotify and Apple Music and everything like that. So if you're listening to us as well, thank you so much. Yeah, look, how was your Christmas? Did you spend with the missus and her family, or?
Yeah. I spent like the entire day, which I haven't spent the entire day with people in such a long time. So like it was fun, but it was
Yeah.
definitely very draining. It was you kind of feel like, oh my goodness, like it took I think 3 hours to go through presents,
Oh, wow.
and then another 3 hours before we had our feast, and then I think another 4 hours just to kind of like hang out and shoot the shit. And then I was like, by the time we got back, just hung out. Just Katie and I just hung out for like a couple hours, and then we went to sleep. Or no, I stayed up and just decided to play video games. So I was like, I really want to play something.
On
um,
Christmas night?
yeah, I was like, I hadn't played anything in a while, so I was like, I want to play something. And then
Cool.
eventually got around to sleeping in most of the next day, and then I was just like, I streamed like for quite a bit, and then I just was so tired. I was like, I'm gonna pass out again like very early,
Mhm.
and I felt a lot better afterwards. So it must have been like it's kind of like a hangover, the post day kind of Christmas. You're still kind of like, oh fuck.
Do
I'm
you
like,
do you guys drink, or is it just kind of food, presents, that sort of
uh
thing? Like, is drinking a big thing for you guys?
I believe they do. Not so
Okay.
much myself. I will have like a drink with them, but other than
Yeah.
that, like I'm not really thinking about like having a drink for myself or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, like, obviously, I'm going to sound very Irish here, but drinking probably is a big kind of part of the holidays for us as well.
Hmm.
I know when I was younger, we would go out on Christmas Eve to the pub and have drinks until closing, and then you'd kind of stumble home to the house, and we'd be like raiding my mom's fridge and stuff like that on like early Christmas morning, like 2 a.m. on Christmas morning. Like, so she always used to buy like more food because she'd know that we'd be coming in and like raiding the Doritos and shit at like 2 o'clock drunk
Hmm.
in the morning. So that was always kind of a tradition of ours when we were younger. All my friends have kind of like moved on, and they all have their own families now and stuff like that. So that's not really what we do anymore. I barely drink anymore. Like, I'm a boring old shite now, really, to be honest, because um I had a couple of like, basically Christmas for me was, we did in my house, it was just kind of Christmas Eve with the kids and Christmas morning, opening our presents and the Santa stuff and everything like that, and it was great. And then we went down to my parents' house. They only live like 5 minutes down the road, which is great.
Hmm.
So and then we had our Christmas Day dinner with like my parents cooked, and like a couple of my uncles and aunties came over, and like my family was there, and that was kind of Christmas Day. And then we went over to the West Coast because that's where her family are all from. So we spent a couple of days. We were there for like 4 days on the West Coast, chilling with all them. And then that was kind of a fancy dinner every night. that we were there, and like drinks and stuff like that. Like, so probably over the last couple of nights, I've probably drank more than I have in the last 2 years, which I thought was hilarious. But like, I wasn't getting drunk. It was like kind of like 5 or 6 bottles of beer, like kind of throughout the evening slash night. Like, it wasn't like sessions, like, but yeah, my session days are kind of over, I think, unless there's like a serious occasion or something like that. I'm at that
Mhm.
point in life where I just don't want to be getting drunk for no reason anymore. I'm just kind of like, if there's an occasion, yeah, I can still drink. I've no problem drinking, but I just don't go out and just get pointlessly drunk anymore. Like, those days are kind of behind me, you know.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
makes sense.
it was a good break anyway. You know, like, it was great to kind of see all the family, and then like with kids in the house as well. It's always just it's just Christmas is magic again. You know, it's crazy. Like, having young kids in the house who believe in Santa and stuff, and it just kind of brings it all back. It's crazy. Like, you know, the excitement of
Mhm.
Christmas Eve, and you're leaving the cookies and the carrot out for Santa with the milk and everything, and you know, they're all getting excited going to bed, and I can only imagine like my son just like fucking shaking in the bed. He can't go to sleep with the excitement and stuff like that. Like, my daughter's still too young; she doesn't really know what's going on, but we walked down the stairs on Christmas morning, and you know, there was loads of presents under the tree, and they were all like, "Oh my god!" Like, you know, they were all so happy. Like, and my daughter doesn't really know what's going on, but she's just like ripping shit open and just like, "What the fuck's all this?" Like, you know. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It was a nice break, and I have all next week off as well. So I'm going to see Sonic 3 tomorrow
Nice.
with the little lad, and it's not an IMAX over here. I don't think, because I don't think it's like a big enough release to get IMAX screens in Dublin. So I was just like, I'm not going to go to the cinema that I usually go to, so we're going to go to a bit of a smaller cinema.
Mhm.
So should still be good. I'm sure it will. I kind of booked just like VIP seats and stuff like that, so
Oh, nice.
it should still be a nice viewing. But yeah, we'll see. I've heard nothing but great things about the movie as well, so I'm excited. I'm excited to go see
Yeah,
it.
I mean, Sonic doesn't necessarily take itself seriously anymore, as
No,
far as I can tell, and I think that's the way it should go, considering that like it is a very silly kind of storyline that they have, and all the different characters that they have are pretty silly in and of themselves. And Jim Carrey just adds to the spark of it, which I think he's definitely a good choice for Robotnik, and
yeah,
um, it's just really cool that we get to see something like this, and to see that they're having fun. Ben Schwartz playing as Sonic is really good. Idris Elba being Knuckles, and Keanu Reeves being Shadow. Like that's a really interesting take, but I get it. Like, they
yeah,
change things up. They try to make it so that Knuckles is a bit more serious about things. He's kind of like the Drax of the team, and
yeah.
then you have Keanu Reeves, which is just him playing
John
himself
Wick.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
gonna be funny to see what my kid thinks of it, because like, he doesn't know who Keanu Reeves is. You know what I mean? So it'll be like,
mm,
I'll be like, what did you think of Shadow? And like, through innocent eyes that haven't been kind of manipulated by other appearances, it'll be interesting to see. Because obviously, when I'm watching the trailers and I'm hearing Keanu Reeves, all I'm thinking of is Neo and thinking of John Wick and stuff like that. You know, so I'm
yeah.
kind of I'm kind of tainted like when I hear his voice, because I just know him so well, obviously. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the kid thinks. Um, and like, I was looking at the ratings and stuff, and this new movie is showing the highest rating so far of any of the movies. So,
Nice.
and like, I really like the first two movies as well. Like, they're good fun, and I brought him to the cinema to see both of them as well. So I was like, we have to finish the trilogy. We have to go see the third one. So, and like,
Hmm.
to be honest, I could even go without him. Like, I actually do enjoy those movies, and I hear that Jim Carrey came out of retirement for the third one as well. So, and it looks great because he's playing like two versions, or two characters in the movie as well. So we're getting like double Jim Carrey. He's playing like playing Robotnik, and then like Robotnik Senior. He's playing his own father in it as well. Like, so it just,
Yeah.
how could that be bad? Like, double Jim Carrey. How could that go wrong? um, yeah, we've got a bit to talk about tonight. We have What If season 3. Now, disclaimer: I haven't seen all of the episodes. I've seen 4.5 episodes. I turned one off, and just to kind of give a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not great. It's definitely probably the worst season so far from what I've seen. Now, I haven't seen the last
Mhm.
couple of episodes, and I think from what I've read or what I've seen, the last couple are probably interesting. I think I will watch them, but yeah, we'll kind of dig into that. And there was a new Spider-Man trailer released today for the new animated series, the Spider-Man Freshman Year, I think it's called.
Mhm.
Um, so I haven't even seen that trailer, so maybe we could watch it here. We could do a little bit of a reaction to it and kind of break it down and talk about it.
Sure.
I've been keeping up on Skeleton Crew as well. This past week's episode was actually really good. So maybe we'll talk about that for a little bit as well. I don't know if you've seen any of it yet, or but it's been interesting, which is good. And then I've got a kind of some other nerdy news bits to talk about. So yeah, let's crack in. What If season 3? I think we were talking before we hit the live button, and you were saying you saw 2 episodes. Which 2 episodes did you watch?
Yeah, the 2 episodes I watched was the first one and the What If Red Guardian Stopped the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, okay. So I've seen those 2 episodes, so that's good at least. Tell me what you thought.
Oh, dude, like so starting off with what currently is going on with the 3rd season, I have to say, like, the titles of each of them are not appealing whatsoever.
Yeah,
It's reached this point of like, I don't know what you guys want, but it's definitely not what we want. So I'm not sure what it.
I don't think they know what they want.
Yeah. No, I know what. Well, actually, you know what? Let me pull that back. I do know what they want. They want to create their own new characters and see what they can do with them, so that they don't have to, pay anything out to anybody that still partially owns some of the older characters.
Interesting.
Because I heard that there's another new character that they created within this show, within season 3, which I haven't run into yet. I did see in, like, What If Red Guardian Stops the Winter Soldier, we see Goliath, which, like, I'm not too big on like Ant-Man technology, so I have absolutely no idea what like who Goliath is, or if Goliath is actually a character, like a character in the comics or an original character from the show. But other than that, like, that episode was just, it could have been interesting if the Red Guardian could just shut the fuck up for a moment.
Yeah.
It like, you see this whole back and forth again, constantly, the talkativeness of nothing, like talking nonsense, nothing, as if like we care about this character being so into Russia. Like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3 had so much heart and soul. I mean, I've only watched 2 of them, and so far I do not care. Heart and soul, I would say, is like, it's akin to what, I guess, to the individual. And to my own heart, it didn't hit any strings. It didn't touch anything, like, in particular. I watched shows recently, like about a couple days ago, and even finished a season of a different show that, like, literally made me tear up a little bit, just because of the way that they set things up and the way that they had things rolling forward. And it's a brand new show.
Give a shout out. What is it?
It's an anime called Kaiju Number 8.
Okay.
Came out this year, I believe, and finished up the first season. The next season is sometime next year.
Nice.
And just amazing work. Like, it starts out in a situation where, like, it's this character who's 32 years old. He feels like he's too old to join the defense forces for, against the kaiju and whatnot. And he's always wanted to stand up with alongside his best friend, which essentially she became the captain of one of the core defense groups. And so, like, he ended up being part of the cleanup crew. So anytime they kill the kaiju, he's the one cleaning up their shit.
Right. Okay.
So, like, it's a really cool concept. Eventually he runs into a friend who essentially is going to give his all and whatnot. They run into a kaiju while they're out cleaning something, and they both get injured. That gets into the hospital. But he shows, like, how he still wants to be part of the defense group. And all of a sudden, a really tiny, like a small kaiju, and like a fly kind of kaiju, but like large enough to like attack him, goes straight for him and jumps into his mouth and into his stomach, and essentially, like, it turns him into a kaiju.
Oh shit. That sounds cool.
Yeah, so like it's essentially like, oh my god, I turned into a superhero, but I also look like the enemy.
Yeah.
So it's so good, man. Like, it starts out, like, it started out a little bit slow, but then it really picks up after a moment, because, like, you see these moments where, like, he's able to take a quick hot moment in the seat and just, like, jump out into the fray and attack the kaiju. you see he's trying really hard not to change. It's kind of like those moments where you see I would say like Superman or Spiderman, like, you know, they at that moment, like things are going crazy, but they don't have time to change right now.
Mhm.
And then finally they get a chance to change, and then they just go fucking ham. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
and it's really good. And like it's cool, it's really cool because like he scares the shit out of a little girl because, you know, he shows up, he kills the other kaiju, and she's like, what the fuck? It's another one. But he manages to save her and save her mother as well. And then as he's walking away, because he doesn't want to scare her anymore, she's like, wait, please don't, like, you know, thank you so much. Like basically thanking him, even though he looks like a kaiju and whatnot. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. Like just this moment of like, this is a hero. That's like,
Yeah.
that's actual superhero shit. Like looking scary, but then appealing to the crowd and being like, okay, maybe I can do some good.
Yeah. That's cool.
And that's why I say, like, when it comes to these what ifs, like, yes, we know about Winter Soldier, yes, we know about Red Guardian, but when I went through that episode, it was very much like a talk fest, and I couldn't get into it. I kept rolling 10 seconds in every single time. I'm like, when does he shut up? When does he shut up? When does he shut up? Goliath is from the okay, thank
So
you.
you weren't even like you were kind of skipping through it.
No,
Like,
because
you weren't even interested.
I was just so like I was like, oh my god, please. I like Red Guardian in the movies,
Yeah.
and he was fine. You know, he kind of has his moments here and there. He's kind of like the post like I didn't best Captain America kind of situation. So like now he has to kind of show himself up in front of like the Winter Soldier, which is like, okay, I get that. But it just felt so forced, man. Like I can't stop. Like just shut up. Just shut up, dude. Like just have moments with the Winter Soldier. Talk as if you're like being serious about it too. He's always talking as if it's like, you know, in Russia they sing, and it's like, oh my god, dude. Like I get it. I get it. You like Russia. You really like Russia. You think Russia is the best fucking country in the world from your perspective.
Yeah.
But usually the people that think that their country is the best are kind of the ones that don't talk about it at all because they don't
Yeah.
have to.
Russians are very like that though, and I think that's kind of what makes it funny. Like Russians are always kind of like, we're the best, we're the bad, we're the toughest, we're this, we're that. You know, that's kind of what they're like. You know, there's a lot of Russians live here in Ireland, so I kind of know a lot of them. So yeah, like they actually act like this, like, you know. So it's kind of funny. And that's what I kind of find it funny because I think that's what they're kind of like. But I understand, Bro. I understand. You know, it gets annoying after a bit. And I found that watching Black Widow, I only rewatched Black Widow recently, and it's like, we get it, bro. You're the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian was great and all this stuff, but like he just keeps going on and keeps saying it and regurgitating it and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm with you there. I do think it's a bit much. I'm curious when we get to the Thunderbolts as well. Is he going to just be the same, or is he going to evolve in any way? Like, you know, I hope he grows a bit. Like
he's absolutely the same, dude. Like even when you watch the first episode, it's like, dude, like, can you just let people like be? Can you let people chat? Like they put him in there to annoy Yelena.
Bro, I forgot
and
he was
like
in the first episode.
Oh yeah, he's right behind Yelena and like on her shoulder and going,
yeah,
dude, yes, like, and it's like, oh god, dude.
So I've seen the first 5 episodes, and I'll just kind of list them off, you know, just to kind of give you a bit of a rough kind of, you know.
You could spoil the fuck out of them. I don't care.
I won't even go into that much detail on them because I know you haven't seen them all. But like, and I know you probably won't even watch them all. But the first we've both seen the first episode. I didn't really think much of the first episode. I know what they were trying to do. It was like, you know, kind of
they're trying to do kaiju,
Voltron, kind of whatever the hell they were trying to do, and like, you know, making. I feel like, you know, they're really trying to beef up the movies and shows that are coming out. So like episode 1, we have Sam Wilson as the leader of the Avengers, you know, and that's like, we're getting Sam Wilson in live action soon. So it's like, I see why they're doing this. You know, I only watched episode 5 there before we went live, and that was kind of about what if the emergence destroyed the Earth. So like, you know, at the end of Eternals, when the Celestial in Earth actually gets born and the Earth gets destroyed, and basically the story of it was probably my favorite episode that I've seen so far.
That's
because
one I want to watch.
yeah,
That's
it was
definitely one I want to
it was
watch.
kind of interesting. They did get a bit silly with it though, basically to kind of tell you a little bit of what goes on. So like the Earth gets destroyed, but there's still people inhabiting the Earth, even though it's in bits. And like Riri Williams is in it, and she's like trying to create some tech to basically beat the bad guys. Because what happens is, Mephisto, not Mephisto, sorry, oh my god, what's his name? Uh, the fucking Spider-Man villain, who Jake Gyllenhaal played. I can't think of his name. It's not
Mysterio.
Mysterio. Sorry, I couldn't think of Mysterio. Mysterio basically takes over the Earth, and he has the White Vision like under his thumb, like kind of being his like kind of soldier going out killing people and all. There was a couple of really cool scenes with the White Vision in it. Like he's going around beating the shit out of people, phasing through walls and all. It was really cool, and I kind of seeing him stone cold, just kind of on a mission to kind of kill. I thought that was really cool. Riri kind of makes her own tech that can't be detected, and she basically gets the power of the White Vision, which I wasn't really crazy about. But again, I see them kind of putting Riri on a pedestal because we're getting an Ironheart show. I kind of feel like, that's them trying to beef up that character and make people more interested in that character. And I thought, okay, that's kind of whatever, it's fine. But that episode definitely was one of the better ones that I've seen. Episode 2, Agatha Goes to Hollywood, I would say just skip it. It's kind of a fluff episode. It's kind of ridiculous. Kinga
I
is in
was
it.
I was ready.
He's kind of cool, but
Yeah.
the Eternal, he's in it, and it's kind of funny in parts, but it's not great. It's okay. It's okay. It's not great.
I was ready to skip it. Like the moment I saw the name of it, I'm like,
yeah,
this is nothing. And then I like started it for a second, listened to the premise of it, and she's like, and it's like, okay, so she knows that a celestial is buried within the earth, and that she wants to harness its power because she has a quest for power. So she decides that not only is she going to do that, but she's also going to do it like vicariously through production.
yeah.
And I'm like, what legs do you have on this fucking thing? Like, at what point did you think that this was even a smart idea for a story? Like, I don't understand. Like, dude, we have comics that are iconic for what if, such as what if like Doctor Doom and some other like villains were stuck in an elevator together, and it's like that's it. But it was good. But it was good.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I think like they could have done a lot cooler shit with the show. Again, I haven't seen every episode in season 3 now, so I'm not kind of gonna score it as an entirety, but from what I've seen so far, like I have IMDb open on my second screen here. Episode 1 is scoring a 5.8. I think that's a fair score. Episode 2 is a 5.8. I would probably score that episode lower than episode 1. I thought it was worse, in my opinion. Episode 3, which is the one that we both watched, was the Guardian and the Winter Soldier. That is a 6.8. And to be honest, I kind of think that's probably a fair enough score. It wasn't amazing, but it was okay. It was fine. I kind of like seeing the two of them together.
Yeah.
I thought, it was fine. It was fine. Episode 4 is What If Howard the Duck Got Hitched, and it's Howard the Duck and Daphne. Man,
Darcy.
Oh, Darcy. Sorry, Darcy. Yeah. I was down. I was down. With her side of the family, and I threw it on the TV one day. I watched 5 minutes of it, and I was just like, I can't watch this shit. I'm sorry. So I had to turn it off. Like I was just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's such a silly kind of storyline. Maybe I'll watch it at the end. The one thing I do like about this show is the fact that they're not at all linked, and it's like you can kind of bounce around for the most part. Now I know they do kind of become a connected story as you go further into it, but at least for the first half of the season you can kind of bounce around, and you don't really have to have watched the previous one. So I feel comfortable skipping this episode. Like it's not going to it's not going to make a difference to the main story, I can't imagine. Right. If it does, whatever, I'll go back and watch it.
Not what if, whatever.
Yeah. I think I make that joke before. I think I might have made that joke before. I think I did. But yeah, like it's just like that episode 4 is a 6.1, which the fact that is scoring better on IMDb than episode 1 and 2, maybe I should watch it. But I'm going to leave that till the end. If I do enjoy the last couple of episodes, the fact that we're going to be getting like Stormhold and Mjolnir and stuff, I'm interested. I want to see what's going on there. But yeah, I don't know. Like episode 5, which is the one I like the most, has a 6.6. And again, I'm just looking at the titles for the last episodes. Like the one with Storm has a 7.1, which isn't that great. Like I would hope that it would actually go a bit higher. So I don't know. Like the highest rated episode is 7.1 out of 10,
Mhm.
which isn't great because like, you know, in the first two seasons, 7.1 would be the lowest, the second lowest rated episode
Mm.
of the entire season would be
Right.
7.1. Like there's a 7.0, sorry, 6.7 would be the lowest. So this would be like the second, third lowest episode of season two if it was
Mhm.
released, and it would be the second lowest of season one. So that'll kind of tell you the quality of the show and where it's going. It's going down. You know what I mean? Like in creativity and, you know, just people just don't seem to be liking it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
I could see how that worked. Like it could be that a lot of people don't like it. I could see a lot of the reasons why people don't like it. Because I mean, I'm not I would say that I'm not part of the main cast or the like the general population of people that watch these shows. Like I have a very niche um you know liking for these kind of things. So like to put me on the same wavelength as others, it's really like making turd loast.
Yeah,
It's
I'm Irish. Yes, 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 yes. Haha.
uh, I totally understand if what if Venom possessed Deadpool is the yes, that's a good one. That's a fucking good one. But like if if you were to ask me if I like Agatha, of course I'm going to tell you that I don't because it just didn't fit well with me. You know, we had that you had that comment pulled up earlier, you know, talking about how like, you know,
Yeah.
their girl was very much interested in Agatha and whatnot. That's great. I love that for you. Like I'm not saying that like, you know, fuck Agatha, fuck it, fuck everything about Agatha. It's just nothing that it did on Agatha really appealed to me as a viewer for myself. If I was to ask some of the population as well, like if they cared at all, like like I've even asked Katie, is like she's like I don't care about that. Like I really don't think it's even a thing on my radar. But like for the younger audience, if they if that's what they liked for Agatha, then by all means. Like I didn't think that it was hitting that demographic until a little bit later in that season for Agatha all along.
Mhm.
Um, and so it just started turning the cogwheels a bit for um, you know, for the storyline, but then it still kind of, in my opinion, just shat itself. It killed her off like in a way where, you know, she's just a ghost now. Maybe she can come back, but like it's just one of those things where I think that they kind of missed the mark on what these characters should represent. I know that they're trying to recreate things for their own gain. They're trying to establish characters of their own volition because of the way that they've established them in the MCU itself. We're not getting a one-to-one. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, these are one-to-ones to certain things, but it's not. Like it's very much akin to the collection of the original comics and the Ultimate comics, more so on the Ultimate side of things. Because which is kind of weird because if you were to think about it, like Ultimate Hulk is he's a cannibal.
Mm.
He's a, like he actually kills and eats people.
Yeah.
Agatha and the Marvels wasn't that terrible in my opinion. I like wasn't she a ghost in the comics? I don't know, dude. Like I don't follow Agatha. All I
Yeah.
know is that when I followed her, like when I took a look at her like in the comics, in the original comics,
Yeah.
she was more so a helper. She was a guide. She was
Yeah.
a person that guided. She helped train or helped
Franklin
Scarlet
Richards and
Witch.
stuff, didn't she?
Yeah,
She was
like
like babysitter for them.
yeah, essentially. So like it's to change it from like this good person that's supposed to be assisting them
Yeah.
to this bad person who's like just wants all the power for themselves. It's like
Yeah.
what? At some point she was a ghost. Okay. Okay, that's fair. And I'm not like again, I'm not trying to argue with you guys and tell you that I don't think that she should be a ghost. I'm saying that I think it's weird that they just happen to make her a ghost from the get-go. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's if like she has been a ghost from the get-go. All I know is that like from her lore perspective, she is a helpful person and
Yeah.
they've made her into a bad person around this time and it's kind of hard for me to gauge that.
Yeah. I was very pleasantly surprised with the Agatha show. I was going in expecting an absolute flop, and it was, some weeks were bad, some weeks were better. And by the end of it, I was actually quite enjoying what was going on. which
Mhm.
was a complete shock to me. For the guys who are new in the chat, we did cover all of it previously. If you want to go back and watch some previous episodes, it's all there. Like our kind of initial reactions and stuff like that. But yeah, like I was definitely very, very surprised at how much I enjoyed it by the end. Like my missus didn't enjoy it at all. Like I was enjoying it way more than her, which I thought was quite funny because like she's into kind of like witchy stuff and stuff like that as well. It just wasn't really hitting it for her. Like, but again, she did enjoy some of the episodes. Um, but yeah, like it's just I don't know. Like I agree with what you're saying. I feel like she's a very new character to a lot of the like normies and the MCU, and the fact that they've kind of gone and made her a ghost already, it feels like it's rushed. It feels a bit quick in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of the MCU. Like it feels like we haven't had her around too long, and she's technically dead already. Now they could revive her, or Mephisto could bring her back to life, or something could happen in the short future. Like I don't know. Like, but
Mhm.
right now you kind of feel like you watch her show. A lot of people are probably really liking her show, and then they go and kill her at the end of the show. It's kind of like, whoa, what the fuck happened there? It's like it's kind of
Right.
strange. But maybe we see her again very soon in a Scarlet Witch movie or something like that. Whatever comes out next, and maybe she gets revived early on, and she's just back. Who knows? It's it's comic books. People get
Right.
revived all the time. So let's just I suppose wait and see what happens. But for me, I think like Griff said, he kind of scores it as like a kind of 6.57 out of 10. I would probably agree with that. I think the first couple of episodes, I wasn't really digging it at all. And then by the end of it, I kind of was, like I would kind of give some of the episodes a 6 or 7 out of 10. And I thought like, Jesus, this is actually quite good. So, and like, it was a big win and a kind of a must win for Disney Plus, in my opinion. So, yeah, great for them. Like talking about, to go back to What If really quickly, I'm, as many of you know, I'm Irish. I literally went on to Disney Plus in my country here, and What If isn't even in the top 10. I don't know if it is for you guys. Can you check? Maybe just if anybody knows this, or if you can check it really quickly. I'm just very curious in the
What are you looking
US,
for again?
or so like just What If. If you go into like the homepage of Disney Plus and scroll down, you'll see like the top 10 in your country. And I'm just curious, like anybody who, I don't know where you guys are from in the chat right now, but I'm curious, does What If, or maybe if you're listening to a replay or whatever, let us know in the comments below. But is What If in your top 10 on Disney Plus? I'm very curious because it's nowhere in my top 10 in Ireland. And, you know, I don't know anybody here that's watching it. I'm just watching it to talk about it here on the podcast. If I wasn't talking about it here, I probably wouldn't be watching it straight away either, and that's just kind of me being very honest. But, I'm only watching it because I want to talk about it here with you guys. So,
Mhm.
if this podcast didn't exist, I wouldn't be watching it straight away. I'd probably look at those scores and I'd probably be like, I'm probably going to skip that, So, like, just to put it into perspective as well, Skeleton Crew is number 4 in Ireland right now. Number 1 and 2 are like Home Alone 1 and 2, which obviously with the time of the year, that's obviously going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I think pretty much everybody watches those movies. Like, I watch them religiously every single year. Christmas Day, I watch Home Alone 1 and 2. Like, that's just part of my Christmas Day. That's part of my tradition. So I'm gonna watch those movies, and I think that's probably half the fucking planet as well. So it makes sense why they're 1 and 2. But yeah, I've got Skeleton Crew at number 4, and What If isn't even in the top 10, which I'm very strange. I don't know if you're checking this while I'm talking. Like, do you see it?
I'm checking in the world,
Oh wow, okay.
and I see Dream Productions is number 1.
Yeah, that's like number 3 for us right now in Ireland.
Star Wars Skeleton's Crew is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Light Shop, which is more so on the Hulu side. Invisible, The Fire Priest, and then What If is number 6.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All
as
right.
far as like the rest of the the world right now, it's just like Home Alone 2, Dream Productions and whatnot. So
I think Die Hard is, Griff is asking, Home Alone, no Die Hard. I think Die Hard is in our top 10 as well, actually. Yeah. Sorry, just to go back to Darian's question here. How do you feel about Young Avengers build to Children's Crusade and Scarlet Witch being with Doctor Doom in the MCU? It would be a bit strange if we get to Doomsday. I have heard this kind of, I've heard like Den of Nerds talking about this and stuff, but
mhm.
like it is kind of a storyline that during Children's Crusade, Scarlet Witch goes missing and then they find her and she's with Doctor Doom. Could you imagine like Robert Downey Jr. comes back to the MCU and he's with like Elizabeth Olsen's character? Like that would be absolutely hilarious. Um, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I don't know how the like general population would take that as well. Like people who don't read comic books and stuff like that. Like I think we're kind of shocked when we watched the Multiverse of Madness and they found out that Scarlet Witch was evil. Like I think a lot of people were like, "What the fuck? They've made her evil!" Like it's
Yeah.
like, dude, and it's so funny how quick you forget that. Like, well, she started out in the MCU as evil as well. Like it's like you don't really remember that. Like, but I don't know. I loved the turn. I thought it was brilliant, but a lot of people seem to not like it. You know, a lot of people seem to turn on the storyline, and a lot of people like kind of downplay that movie or like downvote that movie a lot just because of that.
Hmm.
Because they're kind of like, I can't believe they turned her bad. Like she was the villain of the movie, and it's kind of like, no, I thought that was fucking excellent. Like I love the way they did that. I have a lot of love for Multiverse of Madness personally, but
Mhm.
yeah, look, and that kind of proves the point that I think a lot of the viewers of the MCU aren't comic book readers. So like if they did Children's Crusade, I think a lot of people would be left scratching their heads going, how did she end up there? Like, why is she with him? Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? It'd be kind of
Right.
strange. It'd be kind of strange, honestly. But I'm down. I'm down. Like, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be
Yeah.
cool as fuck. Yeah. Have you got anything else to say about What If?
Just that the idea of the Mech Avengers and the whole like Hulk being a kaiju thing, I was like, what the fuck are they trying to do here? What is the point of all that? Like I couldn't like I watched it the whole way through
Hmm.
and I couldn't I like they were it was this it was one of the most serious episodes ever and I couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. So Darian in the chat says, I'm just reading these out for anybody who might be listening to this on Spotify or whatever, but it's like Doom stole her power and it could be an easy way to not introduce the Beyonder and Molecule Men. I don't think they're gonna go like I think they're gonna do a Beyonder, but I don't think they're gonna be doing like the Molecule Men story. I think the MCU are gonna go a different way about it. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. I've heard
Yeah.
like a couple of different theories that I really like, like instead of Infinity Stones, they're doing like infinity beings and there's going to be like from each world it's going to be like one person, so like the 616 they might use like Spider-Man for example, or
Mhm.
they'll use like somebody else like Loki, and like you can see it in some of like the promo stuff, like Scarlet Witch will be like the reality stone for example, or the reality being. Loki's like the time stone, which like again kind of lines up to where their powers and what they do and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, like you could have like Thor as the Power Stone or something. You know what I mean? Like there's ways of like doing it. Like and I kind of like that as an idea. And then these people all have to come together and like form like an Avengers to take out Doom or something like that in Secret Wars. Like
Right.
kind of makes sense. Like I think that kind of works on paper anyway. But yeah, like we'll see what happens. I kind of like the idea of the Molecule Men story. Like Doom obviously takes the Molecule Men out of all of the universes and uses them as a big bomb to destroy the multiverse and stuff. I'm like, that sounds fucking epic. But in the MCU, it doesn't really make sense because we don't know anything about any of these people. And again, I have to kind of bring it back to the general population, like the general fan base, because it's like you gotta do stuff that makes sense to them. And doing
Mhm.
something like that now would just feel so fucking rushed. And so many people would just be like, what the hell is going on? You know?
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Griff says it perfectly. Like, kind of backing up my point here. Like, if they were doing on Reese, like, we should have seen him by now. I agree. Facts. 100%. So yeah, like I don't know. We'll see where the MCU goes with it. I think we've seen it before. Like they are changed. They're not going like page by page of any of the comic book stories. They are making their own Civil Wars. They're making their own Infinity Wars and Infinity Gauntlet storylines and stuff like that. So I think they'll do something different. Like it's not going to be a straight adaptation of Secret Wars. They're going to kind of do it a bit differently. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yep. Excuse me.
Griff says you mentioned Loki. The TVA would have been a great way to introduce Reese. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they didn't. Now I don't know if like plans changed because I know the rumor was, and we've kind of spoke about this before, but the rumor was before the whole Jonathan Major stuff that he was going to potentially be a version of the Beyonder and so on, and he was going to kind of create Battle World and stuff like that, and he'd have the power of the Beyonders and stuff. So that kind of makes sense, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Again, like it can go like page for page, or I can go completely off book. So I do trust in Feige though when it comes to the grand scheme of things and like the big movies. Where like the fact, again, I say this again, but it's like RDJ's back, the Russos are back, McFeely's back to write. It's like the dream team are coming back together. So I will have faith in the team, and I hope that they do kind of put something good out there.
Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I mean, we haven't really had like an actual MCU movie in quite a while. Like, the Sony movies are within their own universe, and you saw what happened with Craven, and it just I think it's amazing. You saw the tweets and whatnot from different I think from like either was it the director or the writer or something that was like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I had it written down here to talk about at the end of the cast. But yeah, one of the Sony executives, or I think it might have been like the CEO of like Sony, was coming out and saying all this crazy shit, like, Madam Web was a good movie. I don't understand why it failed. And, Craven's a good movie too. We just, just people didn't like it. And he was trying to blame the fan base and stuff like that. And it's like, bro, come on. You're making shit movies. Let's call an ace here. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Like Madam Web, I was proud to say that I had like seen every single superhero movie on the big screen from like the year 2000 or something. Like I had never broken the streak. Like I went to see everything, you know what I mean? And like I was proud of that streak. And then when it came around to stuff like Madam Web and Craven and Morbius and all this shit that was like getting shoveled out by Sony, I was like, I just can't afford to fucking go and see these movies anymore. You know what I mean? It's getting so expensive to go to the cinema. If I buy 2 tickets for me and my lady to go, and food, and you know what I mean, and it's like a date night out, it's like nearly €100 to go out like and see a movie. And if I know the movie's going to be shit, I'm just like, I don't want to even do this anymore. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, fuck you, Sony. Like, how dare you ruin my streak? That's all I'm gonna say. Like, fuck you, Sony, and fuck you, Marvel, as well, because you've put out some shit movies in the last couple of years as well. Like, like I know there was a comment about the Marvels earlier. I didn't like the Marvels. I went to see it, but I didn't like it. I thought it was a pretty bad movie. Ant-Man Quantumania was a fucking major letdown for me as well. Thor Love and Thunder, another shit movie. Like, it's tough, man. It's been tough to be a Marvel fan for the last few years, mostly because of Sony. But yeah, Marvel haven't been saints either in the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah. And I think the problem with Sony is that they didn't necessarily keep any of the heroes. They had all the villains left on their rights, and they saw that the MCU was doing their best with Spider-Man, and they kind of like adapted him pretty well, like within the MCU, and it seemed to get like people raving. Yeah. And so I in my opinion, I think that they were at the drawing board, or they were sitting around at the table and they were going, guys, we don't have any like actual heroes on our end. Like, what do we do? Like, Spider-Man is being held by the MCU. What do we do? Yeah. And they go,
Sinister Six with no Spider-Man.
Sinister Six with no Spider-Man. They're like, I have another idea. Yeah. Why don't we make Venom extra likable?
Yeah.
By making him into Venom's a fucking guts. Yeah, like,
yeah. Oh, dude.
Like, yes, Venom can be an anti-hero. Yes, Venom can be like crazy at times. Well, like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't recall him being that much of a fucking weirdo.
Venom with no Spider-Man just doesn't make any sense. And like, you need Spider-Man to get the symbiote first to give Venom the powers of Spider-Man, right? Like, that's kind of how it happened originally.
Essentially, yeah.
I think how they tried to explain it was like the whole hive mind thing. And I think in the grand scheme of things, yes, okay, fine, that makes sense. But they like kind of threw that in as like a little one-liner, but that was it. Like, if they had done like flashbacks to Tobey Spider-Man 3 and saw the first like kind of symbiote reaction with a Spider-Man and then went on to explain how the whole hive mind and the multiverse existed, I would have a lot more time for that movie, because I would feel like, okay, this is actually like a continuation of the Sony multiverse. Like that kind of makes sense to me. And I think I would have a lot more time for the movie in that case. But they didn't think about that at all, or like they didn't try and connect it at all. And then maybe halfway through the fucking writing of the film, they kind of went, let's, say the Venom is a hive mind and he knows who Spider-Man is. And then it's like, okay, we'll use that as an excuse to throw the little Tom Holland teaser at the end of the second movie, and that he kind of knows who Spider-Man is and blah, blah, blah. Like it felt weak to me personally. But I always kind of refer back to like the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon that was on the Cartoon Network. Like I love that show. Like that was kind of my Bible when I was a child of how I became such a little Marvel nerd and loved Spider-Man so much. And the way that they told the Venom story there was just perfect. Like, you know what I mean? Like J. Jonah Jameson's son finds him on a space mission, brings him back to Earth. Spider-Man interacts with him, becomes the Black Spider-Man, and then after a while the suit starts making him bad and all. And then like we only saw that recently as well in like the Spider-Man 2 game. Like how can Insomniac do it perfectly as well? And then it comes to Sony themselves and they tell a fucking bullshit back to front story. Like man, like I don't know, like there was nothing stopping them from doing their own Spider-Man iteration as well as the MCU having Tom Holland. I don't think anybody would have had a problem with that. And like now that it's all said and done, if you like take a step back and think about it, like would you be pissed off if Andrew Garfield still existed as Spider-Man and then you got Tom Holland as well? People might have been at the start, they might have thought like, what the fuck is going on? There's two Spider-Men right now. That's a bit weird. But now in 2024, you probably would have been like, oh, this is great. Like if you let Andrew continue on, and then maybe you did a few of those movies like Venom, and then you did Craven, and you did, Morbius and whatever, Madam Web, all these things, but you had Andrew as the Spider-Man in that universe, or a different kid, you get a new young kid and you start again. I think all those movies would have been better if there was a Spider-Man in them. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. I mean, he's the most beloved character of like within Marvel Comics. I mean, he's done so well every single time, and it's really hard to fuck up Spider-Man because all of his stories work well. All the characters that reside around him function because he exists. And so when you create Venom and you have no Spider-Man, just like you said, it's essentially they have nothing. They don't even have the iconic like design of him. Yeah. They made him just a slimy looking alien, which I mean, it could have worked had they figured something out in terms of that. Like had they done anything to essentially get something to make it look as if he were like comics original. Because I think a lot of people, even though like when it comes to these kind of shows, if you even get a glimpse of the original outfit, it's such a nod to the original comics, which then makes people so happy to have like experienced this within the movie. Even if it's a joke, some people are like, okay, that's was enough. A funny nod. Yeah, that was enough, a funny nod. And it's just it feels so comfortable that way. It lets people know like, hey, just so you guys know, we remember this stuff, and we hope you like that. We thought it was funny that maybe we would have the costume there for a moment. It's like when you watch Edward Norton's The Incredible Hulk. They're at the motel, and essentially, I think Betty tosses him a pair of shorts.
Yeah,
and he's and they're purple. Yeah. And he's like, and she's like, what? And he's like, I'll just stick to what I've got, because like in the modern day, he's wearing blue.
Yeah.
So like it was just a cool nod. It was like,
do you know what? Just to talk about that for a second, because I know I'm gonna forget, but I only rewatched. We did a whole kind of episode talking about Hulk and that movie and so on. And I went back and rewatched. I hadn't watched it in 15 years, I'd say, and like I noticed so many little like teasers and Easter eggs and stuff that I wouldn't have noticed when I watched it first, because I wasn't a big Hulk fan at the time. But like, yeah, like there's nearly an incentive, and I think that they kind of do it this way, and it's a great way to kind of promote other media. You know what I mean? Like if you have a film that's full of Easter eggs, and you're sitting around 300 fans and everyone's kind of laughing at these jokes, and you don't get these jokes, and it kind of incentivizes you, or definitely incentivizes me as a fan to kind of go, oh shit, I need to kind of learn more about this character. And how do you do that? You go and you read comic books, you watch animated series, you play video games. So you know what I mean? It's a great way to kind of expand the brand. And I feel like they have done that really well in the past. Your Hulk example is perfect. I kind of feel like they're not really doing that as much anymore. And I think, maybe new fans need to kind of realize shit, and especially with all the stuff that we were talking about, like with the future of what's coming along with the MCU. And, there's a couple of comments in the chat that I want to go to in a minute, just talking about Fantastic Four and stuff. It's like a lot of people might not know anything about the Fantastic Four, but like, hopefully the movie's good enough that you're going to turn around and go, actually, I want to learn about Franklin Richards, and I want to learn about Galactus, and I want to learn about all this stuff, and Silver
Right.
Surfer and all this cool shit. But yeah, like, it's like, I don't know what Sony are thinking when they this Sony universe, because it didn't feel like they were trying to pay homage to the originals or the comics or games or anything like that. They just went completely off book, did their own kind of shit, which had no connection to anything, and they just slapped the Spider-Man name or the Spider-Man lore or Spider-Man connections to it. You know what I mean? It's like, we're going to do a movie about Madam Web. Nobody gives a shit about Madam Web if she's not helping Spider-Man in the multiverse or the Spider-Verse. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about Madam Web if that's not the story that's being told. But we get a story about her and a bunch of girls who are not Spider women at all for the entire movie, and then we see like a 20-second clip at the very end of the film. Stupid. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's like, they don't even have like a villain that's in any way connected to Spider-Man. If the villain of that film was like Venom or something, that'd be kind of cool. You know what I mean? It's like, they didn't even do that. They could have brought Tom Hardy in and just like had him as the villain for that film or something like that. Like, maybe there's a story where he needs to somehow, connect with these women to get their abilities to add to his kind of shelf of abilities or something. I don't know, man. Like, I'm spitting quick ideas out here, and they're better than what Sony did. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I just don't understand it, man. It's crazy. It really is. It's absolutely nuts. So yeah, look, I think Sony have realized what they've done. That they've done the wrong thing. I've heard kind of rumors and stuff that they're maybe talking about getting a new live action Spider-Man that's going to sit separate to Tom Holland, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Maybe they do that. I think now in 2024, 2025, that would actually work. If they announced like, we're bringing Andrew back, he's going to continue on, we're going to get Amazing Spider-Man 3, and it's going to link in with Venom and, whatever. He was actually the Venom. He was actually the Spider-Man to the Venom or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? You connect it somehow. I think people would be like, fuck yeah, let's go. Give Andrew another movie. Like, he was probably the best part of No Way Home anyway. You know what I mean? So, I think, you could do anything at this point, and anything would be better than what they've done.
Right. Yeah.
Shocking stuff.
Shocking
Stuff. Sorry, just to go back to a few of these comments because they're building up on me. The Fantastic Four is going to be rushed in the MCU. They've got like 8 characters, 4 introductions, like including like Franklin Richards. As I saw this earlier, and I kind of brought Franklin to the front of my mind just in one of the things I was saying earlier. But like, Franklin, yeah, he's a very, very cool character. If you don't read comic books, you don't know who he is. You maybe guess by the surname Richards that he's related to Reed Richards, but he's like an Omega level being in, or was he was a mutant, and they kind of changed the story recently or something, but he's basically like one of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel universe. Like, he's a reality bender and everything like that. Like, so he like is one of the top dogs. I think he like, does he beat like Galactus at one point, and he has Galactus working for him at one point or something like that. Like, and he's a kid in the story. Like, so it's like scary shit. Like, Council of Reeds, I think, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, if you get like 4 different Reed Richards showing up, I think people, the normal like fan base, will kind of be like, okay, they're kind of doing Multiverse of Madness again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll kind of think something like that. But yeah, like, I think there is a lot going on, and I think like the MCU, Kevin Feige, all these people, like, I think, I hope that they, I hope that they've got the right minds working on it. They've got a good script, they've got a good story, and it's going to be good pace, and it's going to make sense as to where we are in the MCU now and stuff. It is kind of worrying though, like Kareem says here, like, trust the team behind Fantastic Four. I kind of do as well, because I think they kind of have a bit of a cop out in some sense, because we know it's going to be a different universe, and by the end of that movie there might be an incursion, I hear, and like maybe after that they get thrown into like 838 or 616 or something like that, and they're kind of maybe closer to the MCU then. and then maybe it makes more sense to how they're around, and maybe they know Doom, and then it makes sense that they help the current Avengers, because it's like, oh, we've met this guy before or something, and then they become relevant in that sense, because it's like, we actually know this guy, and we'll tell you how to beat him or whatever the fuck, or we beat him before in a different universe. I'm rambling, but you know what I mean. It's I think it's possible. So yeah, like I always kind of say yes, in Kevin Feige we trust, but let's kind of see, because he hasn't. There was that beautiful spot 2014 to 2019 or whatever, where every single film was a hit, and it was just absolutely glorious. It was an amazing time to be a nerd. So
it was definitely fun.
Hopefully we can get back to it, man, because yeah, it's been a bit shaky for the last kind of 2 years. This is Griff's talking about Craven here, and the Insomniac game Spider-Man 2. I played it on my gaming channel twice. Like it's rare that because like I don't get a lot of time to game, because I'm a parent. I've got 2 young kids. For me, I can't sit and grind for 8 hours anymore. So I could get like a 4-hour stream a couple of nights a week if I'm lucky. For me to sit down, play that game from start to finish, and then start a new game plus straight away and do it again, like that should tell you, like, what I thought of that game anyway. I thought it was fucking incredible. It's the first game that I've actually 100%ed on Sony. So like, it's my one and only platinum trophy on PlayStation. So I fucking love that game, and how they did Craven was absolutely incredible. I had full faith in Aaron Taylor Johnson, and to be honest, it's not his fault. I don't think it's his fault that it went to shit, but because I was actually watching, he was on like Josh Horowitz's podcast. I don't know if you ever listened to it, but he's got some really good guests. It's a good podcast to kind of throw into the mix if you're looking for some things to listen to while you work or whatever. But he's got some really fucking good guests on, and he had Aaron Taylor Johnson on the week of the release of Craven. And how that guy was talking about the movie, I know he has to promote his own movies. That's part of his job. But he was really talking about the film as if it was a good movie. And it's kind of like, bro, like, what? I haven't seen the movie. I've only listened to what you've said about it, and I've seen the ratings and stuff. I'm kind of like, I fully agree. I don't need to see the movie. I knew exactly what it was going to be. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, I don't know. I just don't know how Sony have Sony'd so hard. It's crazy.
They're trying to bat 1,000 and it's not working, man.
Yeah. Darian, I know you're posting a lot in the chat here. I actually really appreciate you posting all these messages. I'm going to take the time to go through them all. So don't worry about it. And he says here, I'm a shut up now. Never. You don't have to. I love we love having fellow nerds here. We love having fellow nerds here to just spam shit at us, and it helps the conversations go. And we're going to a place I didn't think we were going to go tonight. So I'm more than happy to keep talking about this. This podcast usually is about an hour and a half long. It could be 3 hours. I wouldn't even care. You know what I mean? Like we can just keep going. Want to see a good I just want to see a few good TV shows. X-Men versus Avengers. I think that could be a movie, to be honest, and I think it would be a very good movie if they did it right. So there's a kind of rumor out there that they're going to do like a potential kind of Battle World, not a like full saga, but they could do a couple of movies inside Battle World. This could easily be one of them. X-Men versus Avengers. There's been kind of whispers around of like a kind of Wolverine versus Hulk project that's kind of in the mix right now, with like Jackman and Ruffalo apparently, which I think, if done right, wow, could be incredible. But like that could be part of this, a movie that's the X-Men versus the Avengers, and then it kind of maybe starts as just Wolverine versus Hulk, and then expands to the full X-Men team versus the full Avengers team. That'd be sick. Hydra Captain America, I think, is going to be part of Doomsday. We now know that Chris Evans is coming back. I think it would be poetry in motion that we have Sam Wilson as Captain America. He comes off his movie. It's going to be like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm Captain America. He beats the Red Hulk, blah, blah, blah. I'm the shit. I'm the new Captain America. And then boom, Hydra Cap comes in. It's Chris Evans. He kicks the shit out of him. It's like, I just think it'd be perfect. And then it's like, shit, I need the real Captain America to come and help me save the day or something like that. And then they get, the proper Avengers back. Like, I think that's a way to do it into Secret Wars. I think that kind of is a kind of cool flow, and it kind of yin yang. It kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ultimate Universe. Alex, you're a big fan of the Ultimates. Do you think like if
Uh,
they did some shows, or well, sorry, maybe not a big fan, but you know a lot more about Ultimates than I do. Do you think like an Ultimates like saga or like TV shows or movies in the Ultimates universe would be a good idea? Like maybe they finish Secret Wars and then we go to like the Ultimates universe. I think that kind of
so
could happen.
so the problem with that is that they've already melded the two. So
Yeah,
I don't
true.
know. I don't know what you would want to do to essentially fix all of that. And you've already explained it like multiple times before that, which I don't want, which is like a basically a reboot where they destroy the universe and then it's all like reset. Which yeah, I could see how that could be interesting, but like at the same time, I think that they would end up hurting the fan base more over time
Mhm.
because then essentially it's like, well, where do you want to start now? Do you want to start with Conan the Barbarian?
Yeah,
It's like, what do you want to do?
yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
to do the gods? Do you want to? What do you want to do? Like, and it's like that could be a plus, considering that like if you think about it that way, then it's like okay, well we have free range, we could do whatever we want. But then it's like, well, we need the heavy hitters, so then we got to bring it back to the modern era, and then it's just all over again, the same situation.
Yeah.
So it's a very tough situation to kind of assume that you can do like a reboot without hurting what was already established. And the only time that I would say that it's been a good positive were any of the times that they did Batman reboots was, and the only reason why that worked was because, you know, every time you retell Batman, it's really not that hard to do.
But
It's
it's not
very
a
much the
shared
same.
it's not a shared universe as well. So it's you well, sorry, the DCEU. This is the first time we're getting a reboot where it was a connected universe. It's always kind of been Nolan's Batman, and then like the Snyderverse was a separate thing, and then like the Tim Burton verse or whatever you want to call that first iteration, like that
Mhm.
was only just Batman movies and that was it. Like so it kind of made more sense to do it that way. Whereas now it's kind of harder to do a reboot, I think, because the shared universe exists and now you have to kind of start everything again. I think that's why it becomes harder, you know?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I mean, the only reason why I pulled up the Batman situation
Mhm.
was because it was easy for them to reboot because of what you just said,
Mhm.
um, and now they're essentially doing an actual reboot with James Gunn, right? They're gonna do like the Justice League and everything, or
So, yeah, so DC are in a bit of a weird spot right now because James Gunn is kind of handpicking what he wants to keep and what he wants to reboot. So it's kind of a messy reboot, and a lot of fans don't seem to agree with it. It seems that
Mhm.
like what like I'm not saying he's doing this, but it seems like what he's doing is he's giving his wife and his friends, he's letting them keep their characters, but then he's rebooting everything else. So for example, we lose Henry Cavill as Superman, and there's rumors out there that James Gunn and Henry Cavill don't like each other, so we're getting a new Superman, but we're keeping Amanda Waller, we're keeping Peacemaker, any of the projects that he seemed to have touched, they're all staying. So it's like he was talking about this in an interview recently, where it's like, can you explain the canon? And it's like, well, Peacemaker season 2 is canon, except for the parts with the Justice League in it. It's like, what? How can that be the case? Like you had like eight or nine episode show, and you're gonna tell us that like some parts of that show aren't canon because there's characters in it that you don't like or that you didn't like an iteration of that character, but the rest of it's fine. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like it's ridiculous. I'm
Right.
gonna go in open minded, whatever. I think, we got the Superman trailer a couple of weeks ago. Uh, it looks pretty good. Some of it looks a bit questionable, but overall, it kind of looks like a fun ride. I'm down to try it, of course. I love DC. If they can do a cool, like from what I've heard on paper, if they can do a cool Batman story, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like Batman sounds like he's going to be quite a developed Batman. If they're going to, the Robin is apparently Damian, his son. He's the fourth Robin, so it's like this Batman's going to be quite aged. He's going to nearly be like a mature Batman. I'm all
Mhm.
down for that. You know what I mean? If we have a full Bat family, that'd be fucking sick. Like if we have a Nightwing and Red Hood and Batgirl and maybe a couple of different Robins, I'm like, this would be fucking pretty sweet. Let's see. It's very much up in the air right now, and as I say, I'm a big DC reader. I've like a couple of thousand DC comic books beside me here. I would love for them to have a good universe of movies that are not just good for me to watch. Like I love Man of Steel. I have like kind of a soft spot for Batman versus Superman, the ultimate cut. I like the Snyder cut. You know what I mean? Like, but I would love for those movies to be accepted by the general population and not there not to be such a divide. Like DC, the fandom feels like the fucking Star Wars fandom right now. Everyone's kind of split down the middle. Have the two sides fucking hate each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just tough when you're a fan and you just want to see good shit and you want to just the community to be happy. It's kind of tough. So I'm
Oh,
hoping
it
James
is.
Gunn. I'm hoping James Gunn can actually like bring the fan base together. Like even right now, it's still on shaky ground. But I suppose until a movie comes out, we won't really know. But I kind of like the idea of what they're doing. You know, they have that Creature Commando show. I haven't watched any of the episodes yet. I'm going to let it all come out and then I'm going to binge it together, just in one kind
Mhm.
of like a 2 block viewing. But from what I've heard, like they have Frank Grillo, the actor, he's playing Rick Flag Senior, and he's already Rick Flag Senior in this show, which is animated. He's going to be in the Superman movie as the same character, and he's going to be in Peacemaker season 2 as the same character. So he's going to be appearing on the small screen, the big screen, and animation as the same character. And I love that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's a fully connected universe across different like platforms. And
Mhm.
that's something that we've been kind of hoping for a long time. Like that's what we kind of really thought that What If was going to be, that like, you know, like then that it was going to be done a lot better than it was. Like the fact that you could potentially have like Tom Holland appearing as Spider-Man on a TV show, like that shit would just I'd be shaking in my seat sitting at home watching that. Like it'd be so entertaining. It'd be so exciting, you know? And like maybe we do get that down the line with Marvel as well. I don't know, but you know, maybe James Gunn doing this at DC has maybe, you know, accelerated plans for Feige to do it at Marvel. I don't know. Time will tell. But I know Kevin and James are quite close. You know, I know Kevin Feige was asked, you know, like what do you make of James Gunn getting the DC job? And Feige's answer was, "I'll be first in line to see the first movie. I'm down. I want to be a fan of that universe, and I know James does great work. So you know what I mean. Like there's kind of play between the two, and they kind of respect each other. So fingers crossed. I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared though. I'm scared.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I don't know, man. A lot of these times, I feel like when you're trying so hard to make these characters connect, especially like in the What If series and in all these other different series, it starts to hurt the idea of the show in its entirety. Because when you think about it, you know, we had Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, and people were like, I fucking that's not my Spider-Man. I remember this Spider-Man, you know, and
Yeah,
it's so hard to kind of bring them to life, but once they're accepted, that's when that's when you know you made it.
yeah,
It's really tough, in my opinion, to think that I could essentially go, okay, we're going to do an Avengers movie, and then we're going to do Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the animated series, and use all their voices again, and use all their likeness, and use it. And it's like, and at the same time, it's like that would be cool, but that's a lot of resources. That's a lot of money to be paid out. That's a lot of different you know, time frames that you have to work around, and essentially it hurts the integrity of the of Marvel itself, because you're not even giving it a chance to have any sort of other characters or other voice actors to have a chance to try out these characters. Um, it's more so like I just want to see the character, and that's what like. And I think we talked about this before with Chadwick Boseman. Like we heard him talk about like, or we heard his brother talk about him and saying like he doesn't care if he's replaced. All he cares about is whether or not that character still exists.
yeah,
And if it's and like, yes, that's an extreme case where it was someone who passed away, but you don't have to make it an extreme case like that. You can make it so that, you know, we're going to have you play on the live action, but we're going to have this voice actor play you or play this character on the animated show.
yeah,
And that makes it so it's a lot easier. You pay like, because voice actors, I don't believe they get paid more. They get paid a lot less than the actual actors, because the actors have to do stunts, choreography. They have to do additional dialogue. They have to do like scenes. They have to do reshoots of scenes and whatnot. So it's, the only reshoots that I'm aware of in terms of like animation are anything that's mocapped, or anything that has to do with like saying a certain line. So, allowing there to be a separation between the two allows for more content to be put out, which allows for more stories to be placed for those characters. And if you want them to meld into like the movies, you can totally do that, because you can essentially kind of like fold it in, or you can make it its own thing. I don't care if it's its own thing, because that's the whole point of the multiverse, is that it's its own thing. Like it's, you have a universe where it's all the animated series. You have a universe where it's all the, the cinematic universe. That's what they were trying to do. And then they essentially like shot themselves in the foot by calling this the 616 universe, and that there's other universes that exist. And then we have the 838 and whatnot, because like you've never established from the get-go that this was the 616, until a lot later into the scene, which like I don't even trust. Like I don't even believe. It's a lot different from what we've seen. The 616 universe, in my opinion, is a comic-based universe. You can have your own universe by creating the MCU. And you can even make it as simple as calling it the 161 or something like that. Just call it something different. Make it so that it's its own thing, so that they can actually collide with each other, so that you have the means of like, okay, the comic character collides with the cinematic universe. What Peter Parker went through in his 616 is vastly different from this 161 universe where it was all cinematic, and you see the Tom Holland Peter Parker and you see like all this shit. You can even have them similar to what you had in the Insomniac games, where you had the comic based skin interacting with the live action, and it would be fucking bananas. It would be gold. Yeah. You saw how people were shitting themselves when they saw Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire in one room together. All three iterations of Spider-Man within the cinematic, like in cinematics.
Live action.
Can you imagine if a fucking comic based, just they threw in a comic CGI based of it? Like it would blow the fucking minds, because it's like, oh my God, that's my Peter Parker from like 1994, or oh my God, that's Peter Parker from the Insomniac games. It's like it's so nice. It's so like it's you can eat that.
Across the Spider-Verse did this, like basically.
And
it was incredible, and everybody loved it. Like the fact that they brought in like Donald Glover as Prowler in a live action, but stuck in like an animated universe. Like I thought that was genius. And like they had the Insomniac Spider-Man show up in that movie as well. Like it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, exactly.
They did. And it was perfect. And yeah, like it'd be so cool. Like I agree with what you're saying. I kind of like the fact that DC are doing it and trying to keep it as close and has like close knit to one universe as possible. Like obviously DC is massive about its Elseworld stuff in comic books, in animation, in live action. You know what I mean? Like we still are going to have like potentially at the start of this DCU, there's still going to potentially be two different Batman already. We're going to have Robert Pattinson's Batman, which at the moment sits in a separate universe, and it's Elseworlds officially. There's, James Gunn has said in interviews that, he has thought of making that the Batman of the DCU and merging those two universes. I don't know if I like that idea, but it's definitely a possibility, I suppose, depending on how the second Batman movie does and how good the Penguin we know how good that was. So yeah, I think it's definitely I see positives and negatives to both sides of it, basically, is what I'm saying. Like I think the freedom to be able to do Elseworld stuff and not rely on having Chris Hemsworth available to do voice acting for you in an animated series where he probably doesn't even want to do it. He considers himself a fucking movie star. He doesn't want to be appearing on TV shows. I understand that, get another actor in, get another voice actor in who can kind of sound like him or whatever, if they want to really go for the Hemsworth style, like just using Thor as an example. But like, yeah, like, and obviously you're going to get a lot more content done if you can hire an actor for a 50th of the pay that Chris Hemsworth's going to get, but still have more Thor content. Like, I obviously like that. I'm going to agree with that. But how cool would it be if it was Chris Hemsworth the whole time as well? Like, there's definitely benefits to both sides of it, That's basically just what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Darian
Yeah.
says Finto is a nerd's nerd. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you. Yeah, look, we go sweaty on this channel all the time. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. You know, it's great to see new people popping in all the time. So, you know, I definitely appreciate seeing new people here all the time. So, appreciate you hanging out with us, Darian, tonight, and we hope to see you again in 2025 for sure. Do you want to talk about, because I know we're kind of at an hour and 15 already, so we're probably going to wrap up fairly soon, but I haven't even talked about anything else that I have listed here. But do you want to watch the Spider-Man trailer?
Sure.
We'll give it a watch together and see what we think, because we know I'm a Spider-Man nerd anyway. So let me bring it up. I'm curious to what you think of, because I know you're a much bigger anime head than I am, so I'd be curious what you think of the animation style and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's check this out together. I don't really care if we get monetized first. It doesn't bother me.
That's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay, here we go. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to pause it straight away. We have like the OG Spider-Man song coming in, like Spider-Man, like from like the 1960s. That's so
fun. Holy shit.
That is so cool. Sorry, just because again we were talking about like just, you know, bringing in stuff from like the old age and stuff. Like we literally have just been talking about this a few minutes ago. So Marvel's listening.
Peter, you're gonna be late.
Sorry, man, I'm okay.
Hey,
Oh,
Petey's always been a bit clumsy.
you know me, clumsy, Petey, Parker. Help, Mr. Campbell. I remembered I left something in the bathroom. Deuces. Parker out.
Superpower size kid, know you want a neighbor like me. Look out.
Somebody help me! He's running, grab him! Gotcha!
I thought it was dead meat.
Check out our next victim in his dumbass costume.
Is my suit really that bad?
It needs some work.
It feels like the animation feels like very choppy and
consider it a good deed from your
like low framey and stuff. I don't know if it's like that on purpose.
By the way, I'm Spider-Man.
I mean, it still can be polished.
I truly believe that I have these powers to help people, to protect them.
Need my city, you need me. Taking off the mask, I know what you see. Know you want a neighbor like me. Just a young man cleaning up the streets.
Definitely some callbacks. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You're Spider-Man. With my help, you'll achieve
Harry Osborn hair.
Oh, man!
Like,
Oh, wow.
That's a good.
Yeah.
If you ever need another butt kicking, just look for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Know you want a neighbor like
And no,
January,
you
let's
may
go.
not be excused from said test. Ah, nice of you to join us, Mr. Parker. See me after class.
Nice.
Bro, that was cool.
Yeah.
A lot of things I liked about it. Like there seemed to be a couple of little nods to even the 616 with him stopping the car from hitting the bus and stuff. Like that was, do you remember in Civil War where Tony Stark first kind of like meets him in his apartment? He's like, "This is you, isn't it?" And he shows him that clip from YouTube and stuff. I thought that was really cool. The animation style is definitely interesting. I don't know, like I'm obviously going to watch it, of course, like, but it feels a bit strange on the eye or something. I don't know if it's like kind of stuttery and low framey or something. What did you think?
I thought it looked good. I thought it all looked good. Whether it's stop motion or whether it's like a kind of like a gritty kind of look to it. I mean, they did the same thing in Across the Spider-Verse. So I'm not opposed to it. It's just the style of it. Everything in there looks good. I think it's like a nice color, a nice touch to it. The style,
the
like,
colors.
yeah, the style's really nice. I like the original suit that he drums up, where it's like these tubes. It's basically like a prototype.
Yeah.
I think it's really like a really nice touch to it, especially, you know, considering we're not getting it, from what I can tell, we're not getting an original suit. We're going to get it like it almost looked like the anti-venom suit, which That would be interesting. I can't remember the name of that suit though. I know I've seen that suit before, but it's not the negative suit. I know that's for sure.
That's a different one. Yeah, it
yeah,
looked like
'cause-
from the Spider-Man 2. I'm just going to refer to the Spider-Man 2 game, which was like the last kind of iteration. It was called the Anti-Venom suit in that game, and it was after the Venom symbiote merges with the what's his name, Martin Lee's kind of ability or whatever. It creates the Anti-Venom suit.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're going to do it in a different way, but yeah, it looked very much like the Anti-Venom suit. I think you're definitely right there.
Yeah, which would be kind of interesting. With the directions they're going.
How do they get there? You know, like how does that happen?
Yeah, I'm trying to think like if there's any other suits that I can remember. I was thinking the Velocity suit, but I think it's like completely different color. Yeah, it's completely different color.
It's the same studio that made X-Men 97, and you know, we know how much we enjoyed that show. So I think, you know, it's in good hands. It definitely looks very different to the animation style of X-Men 97, which I personally am a fan of as well. I like that they're being experimental and creative and going, like, you know, not just kind of sticking to what they know, you know, if that makes sense. Because I think that kind of animation style is more so towards that late 90s stuff, whereas this feels like 60s stuff because you've got that theme tune from the original Spider-Man show, I believe, in like the 1960s. It kind of feels like a 60s kind of comic book in drawing and color wise and stuff like that. So I think maybe they're going back to like the origin of Spider-Man, if that makes sense, in the animation style. So that's very interesting to me as well. But with a modern twist on it, you know, which I think is going to be really fucking cool. January 29th, man, as well. It's only around the corner. It's like 1 month from now. So that's going to be great. We're going to be covering that full thing. I don't know if they're releasing it weekly or if they're going to do what they did with What If Season 3. One thing I'll say that I did like about What If Season 3 is it sounds like a negative thing that I'm saying, but it's not really. Like the fact that they released it over 8 days, I think is a good thing. Like, because you've just have a new episode every day. You've got it done in 8 days, and we can kind of cover it as an entire series in one episode of the podcast. Obviously, it's great to have, you know, weekly stuff so that we have something to talk about on the cast every week, something that's new. But at the same time, imagine having to sit through 8 weeks of What If Season 3. That'd be tough, you know. It'd be tough for everybody. So
yeah, it doesn't have enough legs to really like stand on its own for 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like the first season definitely did. The second season was not as good, but it was still pretty good. And I think they released that.
It was
one weekly
enjoyable.
as well. I wonder,
Yeah.
I like the idea of them releasing it on like 8 days leading up to Christmas or whatever. You know, I think that's a cool marketing thing. I think it's, you know, I think it kind of flows right. I wonder, did they do that on purpose, or did they do that because they knew it wasn't as good and they were like, let's just get this over with? You know, it kind of feels that way.
I do believe it's because they didn't think it was that good. Considering that they decided to make 2 episodes, one based on like Howard the Duck, which I don't know how many people really like Howard the Duck. But they haven't, like, they've shown him here and there. They showed him in Guardians 3 more so, and yeah, we get a look of him, but we haven't really experienced much with him. So like, I don't know how many people are actually into Howard the Duck, except for like the much older population. We're like, oh my god, dude, it's Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
and like, I totally get that. Like, you know, if Howard the Duck is your thing, guess what? We got Howard the Duck. But in terms of like, you know, Agatha with the production thing and like the Winter Soldier and Red Guardian thing was much more enjoyable. Although I think that they took too long to kind of explain the show, like what the storyline was like entailing. I think it could have done better if they had shown the repercussions, because now Howard and, you know, like basically Tony's parents are alive. That's way more important to know and to care about than the fact that Obadiah Stane is dead. They could have thrown Obadiah Stane's death a lot sooner, like in the first half of the show. And then they show like I don't care if the last part's even like, you know, the last 10 minutes, like 5 minutes is a slideshow of who Tony Stark becomes at this point, because now he has his parents. It's, you know, Obadiah Stane's not there to get him in trouble to get like caught in the cave. So we're not going to get the proper Iron Man anymore, or maybe we will. I don't know, but that's more important to me to know what happens to Iron Man because of that, than it is for me to care about whether or not the Red Guardian loves Russia.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like a pretty lost opportunity.
100%.
Yeah.
But, that's what they felt was necessary, which I think is it's still kind of odd in my opinion. I think they could have done a lot more. And maybe they were rushing it. Maybe this season was rushed.
Yeah, possibly. Like they do have still a zombies animated show to go. They've got this Spider-Man show. Like there seems to be a lot kind of sitting under this Marvel animation umbrella right now. So yeah, maybe What If season 3 was just something that they had on the shelf that like we need to finish this, but we're looking to move on to other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very, very possible. Because they announced that this was the end of What If before it even started. Like they knew like this is the final. Like there's no more episodes. Now, if it was turned out to be a smashing success, and everybody said at the end of episode 8, like, wow, that was as good as X-Men 97. Wow, we need more. That's good. We want this more. We want this more than we want like Spider-Man 98. Like maybe they would definitely do more then, of course. But I think, this is kind of the book closed on this one for sure.
Which is so weird. Like I maybe they just saw that there wasn't enough money to be had in this series. Maybe they just felt like it wasn't enough, and so they have to close the chapter on this, because to me it's so weird. Like you could do What If forever.
Yeah,
you could do anything with What
easily.
If.
Like Darian in the chat here, like, what if the Beyonder fused MODOK to Galactus's button to hire Deadpool to kill the Beyonder? It's like anything is a possibility. And like, to be honest, I know, actually, this could happen down the line with obviously the rated R Marvel kind of getting more predominant as we go on. Like we know we're getting Daredevil, we know we're getting the Punisher, we know we're getting Midnight Suns, all that sort of thing. So maybe they turn around and go, actually, let's do What If, but let's do it like Rick and Morty or something. And then it's like just crazy shit like happening. That'd be cool.
Yeah, why not?
And there's definitely a fan base for that sort of thing. Like a lot of people love Rick and Morty. If you had like a Rick and Morty style MCU show where it just got wacky and weird and X-rated and just fucking bizarre, I think a lot of people would show up for that.
Well, that's the point of What If. So
exactly.
That's why I keep saying it over and over. Like, what are you guys doing? Just make it wacky.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're kind of at a bit of a natural ending point. There was a few other things that I wanted to talk about, but maybe we'll just save them for the next episode, because I know I want to talk about Skeleton Crew a bit, but maybe let's let a few more episodes build up. Are you around next week?
I don't know yet. I
Okay.
need to double check.
That's fine. Kate, Happy New Year to you. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Kate.
Kate popped in kind of halfway through the year and has been around for a good bit, even showing up on my Twitch channel and everything. So massive shout out. Really appreciate you showing up and being part of the community. It's fantastic to see. Hopefully we'll see a lot more in 2025 as well. What If season 3? We haven't really seen all of it, but from what we've seen and from what the critical scores are showing, it seems to be the worst of the 3 seasons. I've seen the first half of it, but I don't know. I will watch the end of it, but there's a few episodes that you can skip easily. Definitely. Yeah, 100%. Darian, I really appreciate you popping in, and thanks for subscribing to the channel. And if anybody's listening to this, even this late into the podcast, thank you everybody for an amazing 2024. 2025, hopefully the channel will continue to grow. These episodes, these podcasts will get better, and we'll even get some guests on. And I've got plans for 2025. So yeah, stick around, and we're only getting started. We can see you guys again soon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye.